During the 1930s to the 1990s, over 30,000 children were sent to an Irish industrial school. There they faced sexual and physical abuse by those who were being paid and claimed to care for them. Women were taken to the Magdalene laundries for petty crimes such as theft. Others was captured and enslaved by the state and placed into the Magdalene laundries to work for the sin of having a child out of wedlock. Others was targeted for being in the travelling community or part of the mixed race community within Ireland. Magdalene women and Magdalene women's children who lost their mothers' lives unlawfully in these institutions, and the children who was made to go up to these laundries but was not residents, took to the streets of Ireland to demand justice for the Irish government for the actions and the injustice that took place within the Magdalene laundries on these women and children. Edna Kennedy in 2013 issued an apology just to the living residents of the Magdalene institution, meaning he excluded the children of these women. The children also brought up to the laundries, but not residents of the Magdalene laundries, which was stated in the McAleese report, was excluded from any form of justice. So, family members and survivors gathered again and took to the streets and demanded for a full investigation into all mother and baby homes. This did not happen. What happened is the government put an exclusive commission in place. The government agreed to investigate 14 mother and baby homes and a sample of county homes, and the tomb site, which consists of 800 baby remains. But survivors and their relatives was demanding of the government for a full inclusive investigation into all institutions within Ireland and their mass grave sites. Instead, the government put another exclusive termed commission in place to exclude those also trying to seek justice for the wrongs put against them from the state and church. It makes you question why the government didn't listen to survivors and their relatives, and why they went ahead with something that does not facilitate all those that has been affected. Survivors and their relatives want the full truth exposed, not just regarding the historic abuse that took place within these institutions, but the abuse that is ongoing, the abuse that survivors face every day as they have to get up and fight the government for what should be a human right. There has been a wide range of evidence to prove that the state had involvement within these institutions and paid to maintain and paid to look after these girls and women. But instead, what they have done is throughout the years, they have made those who are the victims suffer more. The government needs to be questioned for why they had denied state involvement within other institutions back during the Ryan report, when they were fully given out death certificates to these orders for when they needed to sell the land and had buried too many bodies on these mass grave sites.
Here also, who come all the way from New York and is with us here today. I've been here many times, and many of the people here today have been here many times outside Ireland protesting. We have a commission that's set up investigating, and the final conclusion will not come through until February 2018. Sadly, in the past 3 years we have lost many survivors, many survivors, such as Victor Stevens from West Bank, Helen Donegan, another survivor, and many survivors have passed. Many survivors are aged, old and ill, and we need an apology of the government and of the Catholic Church Now is the time to look at what happened here in Ireland, the survivors of these institutions that has endeavoured a primal wound that we've lived with and will continue to live with till the day we die. I stand honoured here to stand here with the Collins family, Mary and Laura today. When I first looked for my own mother at the age of 18 years of age, and the therapist said to me that you have to get counselling in order for us to give you information, which I did. I did all the loops. And then they asked me, David, what if you were a child of incest, or what if your mother was a traveller? I said, I don't care where my mother came from. I don't care if she was a traveller. I want to know my identity. I want to know who I am, who my mother was. And if I was a traveller, I would still love her to this day. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
I'd like to say this as well. On behalf of the Collins family, I want to see one of them in Peacock Lane, St. Vincent's in Cork. One of them to be brought up for justice to be done for taking the life of their mother.
Thank you.
Of their mother, for which the doctor verified, going back 10 years ago, the doctor verified that she had cervical cancer and that she needed to have a hysterectomy. Now they ignored that and they forgot all about it, and they left that woman there to die, and she did die. So one of them should be brought up for justice and put in the box for taking that woman's life.
Hear, hear.
Considering the fact that the poor children was put into an industrial school in Cove, separate from them, or they're taken from the side of the road. May God forgive them, I'll tell you now. I hope they go to hell, because that's where they belong. But I want to see one of them be brought up and put in the courts.
Yeah.
One of them brought up.
And all of them in there that has restricted the court of justice for all survivors need to stand and be put in the box also
And
for restricting the court of
justice for
justice of all survivors. There you
all
go.
over Ireland.
Yep.
For all the wrongs, and we'll put them to right. All the only thing we did was we broke the original sin. That was the only thing we did, and we were sentenced for that crime by the state, by the justice, by the medical profession, and by the courts. And they owe us a lot. They used us and they worked us to the bone, and they co-opted on us. They profited on us. So we're coming and we're taking it back off them, what they owe us.
Yay! And what is rightfully survivors that they have not given. That is simple as.
Hi there. What I would like today, and I'm not ashamed of my identity. I've come from a travelling background years ago. I was snatched off the side of the street with my mother and father. I want to bring the government to justice for kidnapping. They kidnapped families off the roads, put them into laundries to work, abused their children, told them their children were their families were robbers, thieves, murderers, and generally placed them in mass graves. I want my mother removed from the mass grave in Cork. I want her placed somewhere where my grandchildren, my daughter, my children can go and visit. I don't want that memory for them. And that's it. Thanks.
You want to come in and say something, Laura?
Mary Collins' mother, Angela, was placed into a Magdalene laundry for 27 years. Mary was put into an abusive industrial school. In social reports, it states that Angelina was a good mother to all three of her children. Regardless, they took Angelina and placed her into a Magdalene laundry where they restricted her life-saving treatment that doctors had recommended that could have saved her life. But due to it being an hysterectomy, the church refused, and Angelina was left for a further 10 years where she bled to death within the institution. Hey everyone, I just wanted to inform you all that I've had to do a resend email to the Sisters of Charity because it's been about 2 months now since I haven't had a reply since sending the letter and email, and obviously for many of you, you would know that it's been since 2013 that we actually set out to do this, to exhume my nan from the mass grave that she lays in Cork. And basically, I just want to make this video to cement to myself that the next time I go to visit my nan's mass grave, I will not be leaving. I'll be taking a sleeping bag. And do you know what? If you want me to leave, you're going to have to forcefully remove me. And every time I go over to Ireland, I promise the Sisters of Charity, I will be causing havoc for your service until you give me a reply. I've gone about it the respectful way. I've gone through the Justice Department within Ireland. Now I'm stepping it up. Do you know what? I will not be leaving the mass grave unless you forcefully remove me. And every time I come back, I will be doing the same. And I'll be outside your office, I'll be outside your service, demanding that you do the right thing and give us the permission that we have set out to try and get since 2013. Your service is absolutely disgraceful. On the day that Mary had held a remembrance event for all of the women in the mass grave that is owned by the Sisters of Charity, she was disappointed to find out that her attempts to try and get the Sisters of Charity involved in the event had fell on deaf ears, like her attempts to try and remove her mother from the mass grave. Mary and Laura's attempts to try and get a reply from the Sisters of Charity has never been successful. One that has a mum or a sister that they put into the care system, and then the state do nothing. They do nothing, and the religious orders, they are heavily involved within caring for the elderly. In St Vincent's in Cork, what they did is the Magdalene laundry that my nan was in, they changed the front interior and put a foyer, but the dorms that the women were in, they closed down the working bit with the Magdalene laundry, but the dorms, they kept the dorms, and it's still the same structure, they've just added a foyer. But once you go into this foyer, you go into the dorms, and that is exactly where the women, the rooms, one of them rooms would have been my nan's, and they have Magdalene women there, a woman who was with my nan, and it makes me so angry, like my heart just, to think that that woman is still on the land and in the Magdalene laundry being cared for by the order who has abused and enslaved her like they did the same to my nan. And I wonder how many more Magdalene women are being provided care from the same order that had abused them, like Karanua is allowing the religious order to provide counselling services to survivors. They have given them 100k for counselling services. The survivors are being counselled by the Catholic Church. Those who inflicted the abuse and they would have biased opinions that it's not going to help. You need an independent, non-influential person who can talk to these people on a level and not still inflict any form of influence. And with the Catholic Church, with what they're doing currently and lying and the way they treat the victims, and they haven't even gave a full apology or even paid their fair share, they are not trusted, and the government is not trusted, and there needs to be a full, proper investigation into everything. And while the Catholic Church restricts rights of survivors, they are currently being allowed to sell institutions and lands that should have been and should be criminally investigated. But a criminal investigation has never ever been put in place for any institution or any mass grave site currently. Okay, the UN has called out Ireland again regarding institutional abuse. They've touched upon the Magdalene laundries and also the current commission that's happening with the mother and baby home at the moment, and how the scope is so small when there are so many other institutions that need investigating but they haven't. But I just want to make clear that while they're going out there and the press is out there putting out regarding what the UN is saying, they're actually focusing on institutional abuse. What they need to do is, if there's going to be any form of independent investigation into these places, they also need to investigate. It's not just about prosecuting those who had made these actions against these children. It's not just about that. Yes, this needs to happen and they need to be prosecuted also, but that doesn't just mean you focus on the history of it, when survivors every day of their life has got up and fighted the government, the Irish government, to get to this point when the UN is now advising what needs to be done, and it needs to be done by the government. It cannot go on any longer. But do you know what? It's not just about historical abuse anymore. They have still abused survivors and their relatives. They have went on to withhold justice from survivors, and do you know what? Every day here, my mum, she deteriorates, and it's okay for everyone else that watches, but they don't understand how throughout the years, this in 2000, that was when my mum put all her reports towards the Ryan report. That is when the government had everything regarding the mother and baby home, the county homes, the Magdalene laundries. They had it all. Why? Because these children from the industrial schools went on to the Magdalene laundries. They went on then to mother and baby homes and county homes. Are all these institutions being investigated? No. Why? Why are they not? Because they are covering up for something. And if you look back to what they had did regarding the Magdalene women in Dublin, when they had tried to sell the land and they found more bodies than actually recorded, and then what happened? Was there a criminal investigation then regarding the 60 women that was not recorded to be in that grave? No death certificates, which is against the law within Ireland. No. What did the government do? They put the certificates in place that was needed for them, regardless of knowing who these women was. It's disgusting. It's a major cover-up that's been taking place, and now they're saying historic abuse. No, do you know what? People in the government have abused my family. They have abused the wider community, and they have abused the people around me, and I'm sick of it. There needs to be a full investigation into why this cover-up took place. And do you know what? Everyone is to blame, because at the end of the day, there's press out there that puts out little snippets of stuff, and do you know what? When it comes down to it, it means jack fucking shit. And I'll tell you why it does, because when it comes down to it, do they tell the whole truth? Do they state regarding from the beginning and how the government have gone out there and protected the church? Have protected their own backs as well? Because at the end of the day, it's not just about the church. They're worried about what they have done. They have took criminal actions as well. The church, they at the end of the day, they were the people that buried more bodies than recorded. But it was the government. They're meant to be enforcing this stuff. And even today, it still shows the control. There's other videos that I've made regarding the Justice Department and how they just view the church as innocent, straight off. Like, even if you've got the evidence, they just go, oh, well, they take their word instead of the evidence, and then you put the evidence back to them, and it just proves it's the attitude. It is the same attitude again. And do you know what? I'm sick of it. It cannot just be investigated historically, because it has not ended yet. When they put things in place here, like Karen Nua and things like that, that's gone on to abuse rights of survivors, and they've carried on abusing rights of survivors, because at the end of the day, they have put commissions in place here that has discriminated us. They have discriminated our community. And do you know what? It is sad, because at the end of the day, there is people that want justice and they go along with it. They go, and I don't blame them people at all, but it's unfair, because you're splitting a community up as well, because when it comes down to it, some people, they want justice, so they go on the bandwagon with what the government is saying. They get their justice. At the end of it, there is the flyaways that are still left. And do the government care? No, because they don't want to address everything. And it's a shame, because at the end of the day, everything could have been addressed back when things needed to be addressed, and it wasn't. And why? Why wasn't these things addressed? And this is what, it's not just about the church anymore. There is people within the government, higher up, who has gone out to protect these people, which has been criminal. So they need to be investigated as well, because survivors' rights have been abused right up to this point, and it's a major cover-up. Even the way that in St. Vincent's, in 2 years' time, they're going to sell off the Magdalene laundry that was once my nan's, that they handed over to HSE in April. They're gonna sell that off in 2 years. Yeah. At the moment, what they're doing is they're shipping the women out. They're shipping them out. Yeah, like they're nothing. They didn't give a shit about them while they were in there. They didn't care at all. It's like they left them there. They knew everything that the Sisters of Charity did. They didn't do a wider investigation, even though there were so many complaints. There's been Gardaí investigations against these people. Gardaí complaints. People wanted these people investigated, and it doesn't go any further. Yeah, they knew all this, and they left Magdalene women in their care. Now that all this shit is hitting the fan, what is happening? What are they doing? They're hiding it some more. They're sending these women out. They're hiding all this stuff, and I'm sick of it. I'm absolutely sick of it. A full investigation into all mass grave sites and this cover-up. There is people in the government that need to be held accountable also. It's not just those in the church anymore that abuse these children and these women. It is those who went on and made a big cover-up and restricted the course of justice to vulnerable people and vulnerable families. You're absolutely disgusting. A full investigation into all mass graves and all institutions is needed, and this major cover-up. And do you know what? Has it been addressed? Have you seen anyone address it? Has there been anyone that's come forward and tried to highlight this within the papers properly? Why? Why are they not doing it? Why hasn't there been a documentary regarding how they have restricted? Because there is so much evidence for it. People will chuck it at you. They will chuck it at you. But no, why don't they want this exposed? That's a question for you, isn't it?